fought the rest, now try the best!
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today in this video, I want to talk about a weird subject. I want to talk about The Boys in comparison to Tekken, Homelander in comparison to Kazuya. I watched The Boys, and I honestly have to say that they tricked us. They tricked us into watching a trash show for 5 seasons. I know that's going to be controversial, but I said it. I know some people love The Boys, and they feel like it was a great show, but I think it could have been so much better. And I think Invincible is a show that showcases that, right? They are not formulaic in their episodes. They aren't afraid to kill characters. They aren't afraid to go in interesting new directions. And I know they're following the comics, but The Boys is also following the comics, and they made the same type of changes from the comics, but their story is more formulaic, predictable, and just overall trash. And the one thing that was holding that show alive, holding it together, was Homelander. If you take Homelander away, The Boys is awful. The Boys tricked us into believing that show would be good for a very long time because people wanted to see Homelander crash out. And this final season basically was kind of like hinting at that. In the marketing material, they had Homelander floating above the White House with a bunch of superheroes like in the air with him. And you have Butcher walking towards them. And that just seemed really cool. It kind of invoked this sense of like world ending apocalypse. And then when you see Homelander kind of killing characters at the start, you see him kind of killing characters towards the end. His allies is betraying him. He's betraying them. It's kind of unraveling in a cool way, but it never actually gets there. It still is doing the same thing that they always do, where they have a lot of filler, they have a lot of pointless conversations, they have a lot of just garbage. And the only interesting thing is when Homelander or one of his goons is like doing something or after something, Soldier Boy's on the screen or something. And the point that I basically want to make, right, because we can skip past most of it, but at the end, the final episode, this was it. This is when the show is literally over and it's done after that. And this is when Homelander should crash out. He's announcing to the world that he's a god. He's immortal because he has that, what's it called, the super V in him, right? And on the broadcast, he's talking about it. You know, the boys, the gang is trying to go infiltrate the White House, and then they're trying to kill Homelander because they have that one girl who's supercharged. First off, them getting into the White House was super easy. You figured that they would trigger some kind of alarms and some kind of service and some kind of this, some kind of, it was just, they got in there way too easily. But then not only when they got in there, they kind of had this tussle with Homelander and they killed him and all of his allies very easily. I felt like it should have been more of a struggle. It should have been more like the odds were against them, but they just played it safe, right? But the one thing that I want to highlight in comparison to Kazuya is the final moments of Homelander. Homelander was a villainous scumbag all the way up until the very end where he turned into a coward. And when I was watching that, I was just thinking about what Tekken players were saying as it relates to Kazuya. I remember there was this theory that Kazuya was only evil because the devil gene wants it to be. And without the devil gene, he would be a nice guy. And I was thinking like that is the most stupidest idea ever. And we kind of got that with Homelander, where he was only a big bad tough guy because he was literally the strongest. And then when he became, you know, immortal because the super V, he then became like even more crazy and delusional and like a god, like god complex, right? But what I love about Tekken is that Tekken said no. Our main villain is not evil because some devil gene powers, some godlike power. Our character is evil because he's evil. He doesn't like Jin. He doesn't like Heihachi. He doesn't like those characters because he doesn't like it. That's what I love about Kazuya, is that he has initiative. Saying that Homelander is only evil, he's only chaotic because of the Super V, it really destroys everything about that character. At the end of Tekken 8, when they, and we'll see how this plans out in the future in terms of DLC, future story, Tekken 9, but so far in Tekken 8, Jun Kazama gave Jin the power to neutralize their devil gene, right? And he takes that power and he does it. You can see this big flash in the sky, and Jin and Kazuya can no longer use their devil genes at that point in time. And there's two endings. There's the ending where Jin beats Kazuya, and then Jun Kazama approaches Kazuya, who's unconscious, so he can't really see what's going to happen there. And then you have the other ending where Kazuya wins the fight and he throws Jin off the volcano, and basically he goes back to his fortress, and then he's talking to the camera, kind of to himself, but he's just monologuing. And he's saying that Even without the devil gene, this war will continue. If you want to stop me, you have to stop me. And that's what I love. It's like he is not evil because the devil gene. He is not evil because he's powerful. Kazuya is evil and crazy because Jun Kazama isn't there, because that part is missing, because he's is the person that he is. And that's why when Jun Kazama shows up in Jin's ending, it's really cool, because we know from that other ending that Kazuya would still be evil with or without the devil gene. And Jun Kazama being the bridge between a lot of these characters, even Heihachi and Jun had a good relationship. That's why Jun told Jin to go to Heihachi when she disappeared, because they have a good relationship. So with Jun Kazama being a character that connects all of these individuals together, and then her embracing that truly dark, that truly heinous Kazuya, it's beautiful, because we know that Kazuya isn't just gonna wake up or he shouldn't wake up, right? Tekken developers do retcons and stuff all the time, but we know that he shouldn't wake up and just be a good guy. From his utter ending, we know he is still Kazuya. And I know a lot of people are probably commenting already how the other ending is a canon, and that's not necessarily true. When the game came out, Harada said that both endings are important. Both endings matter. And we don't know what that means until they, add more to the story and we can see how it developed. But I think what they did with Kazuya, and it's just showing us how he's truly evil, I think that is the point that they're trying to make, is that like Kazuya is evil no matter what. And that's what I think makes him so cool, and that's what makes him so awesome, and that's what makes Jun Kazama's involvement in the whole thing so interesting. And that's also what I think the boys missed. Making Homelander be a scared coward at the end of the day, talking about I'll do this, I'll do that, don't kill me, I'll do this, like that, it was awful. That was awful. If you can think The Boys was good, but there's no way on earth you have a working brain and you think that that was good. Homelander to go down like that that could have been one of the most iconic characters, but it's not going to be, bro. He will be, the portrayal was excellent. The actor did a phenomenal job, but the story writing decisions was terrible. It was terrible ever since season 1. And they had no vision of what to do with the character. And they just basically strung him along, used him for politics, used him for this, did that. They just ruined it. And then at the very end, they said, oh yeah, that tough guy mentality that he had was all a lie. When you rewatch The Boys, if you ever do, you will just know that he's just a coward behind a power. And that's not good. It would have been much better if they went the Tekken route and they had Homelander like really try to fight to the death. Now I know he fought Butcher, but he just, it wasn't like a true fight. He really should have he should have kept the same attitude, the same energy, you know? And that's one thing that I just wanted to make this video and say that I commend Tekken for doing that. I know we give the story a lot of flack for it being bad and retcons, but I said this at the start of the season, at the start of the game release, and I'll say it again. The Tekken developers have not dropped the ball with Kazuya. Kazuya has been one of the best characters, one of the best portrayed characters in Tekken so far, and I hope that continues. I hope that they continue to just show Kazuya being awesome, being fearsome, even if he does eventually go and team up with Jin, because that's what players are expecting. Reina and Heihachi is such a fearsome duo, and then if they figure out Marizu this, blah blah blah, Mamizo that, they get that under control. You can see that Kazuya would kind of be forced to join Jun and Jin, kind of like a Goku Vegeta situation where they were forced to fight against Frieza. And even if they did go that route, I would love for, Kazuya to still be Kazuya.